I'm just going to take this aside. And for the second exercise, I'm actually taking a mango, which is a little bit softer. I make sure that my mango is not only cleaned, but also has the sticker removed. Cut off as little as possible and stabilize my mango. I look for the pip, cut it right straight down the middle, and as soon as you find resistance, which is, if you can see this, I find resistance, I then have to adjust my knife slightly to go along the natural curve of the pip. So I do this, and then I keep it pushing against the pip, and it's something which you can't really see but feel, okay? So it's important, and if I did it properly, I expose some of the pip right over here. And one mango will yield 2 halves. I go pretty much from the top here. Go alongside the pip and have 2 beautiful halves of mango. Here you can see it even a little bit better. Okay? So the pip runs here, the pip runs here. And I also have then, afterwards at a later stage, utilize this, the rest of the fruit which is then available. Now, if you decide to do a lab which contains a lot of fruit, it's obvious that out of all of these fruits, you create a fruit salad. And you know, it's not only how to incorporate additional fruits and vegetables into somebody's diet, but these fruits taste so much better if the students did it themselves and could prepare themselves for it. Okay, so I take my knives out of here, reorganize myself before I get started. And for the second task, I'm going to use a little paring knife. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to cut 1 inch, or pardon me, I'm going to cut in about long sides here, with cutting it all the way through, but without cutting myself. So it takes a little bit of skill, cutting it through, just like this. And
Klaus, do you have problems with students cutting themselves when they're pointing the tip of the knife toward their hand?
No.
Okay.
What it is depending on the amount of pressure they put. If I can show you this in a second, let me do one, finish this one, I come back to this. It's all about feel and comfortable level with the knife. I yet have to have an accident with it, and it's very obvious that when you cut too deep, and I do this now on purpose, okay, that the knife would come through, okay? You can prevent this by just applying some pressure, and you will feel that the knife goes through. You can actually feel it in your hand right underneath there. So there's no danger whatsoever. And again, we never had an accident as of today, and I hope it stays that way. Okay. So now it's really something, because actually the fruit, it's very soft. In this case, can you see how easily my knife slides through it? Again, the biggest danger is not the knife, it's a dull knife. It's a dull knife, and people being intimidated by a big knife like this. That's dangerous, because once people are intimidated by a thing like this and they don't have the proper care for the knives, then we may have accidents. Okay, so once the mango is cut, and you can get your own specification, you can say 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and the easiest way to do this is to require in the lab to have 6-inch little rulers, because you know what I think it's 1/2 inch, their perception of 1/2 inch is different. So having a little ruler in front of you really helps. Now the cool thing is, if you take the mango, and I hope it's going to work out, if the mango is ripe enough, you just turn it upside down, just like this. And sometimes it depends on the season, on the mango, on what it is. Like here, it doesn't work out, but that's not the end, because I have another half. And I hope the camera can pick this up. You have a dark yellow here and the light yellow here. That actually indicates the ripeness of the fruit. And presumably this part going to flip nicely and this one doesn't. But let's see. Okay. So some of them will move properly, some of them don't. But it doesn't really matter, because we're going to make it look very nice by doing this. And for example, these kind of fruits I would use then to show the student something cool. But also, instead of peeling the mangoes like this and then dicing them in different specifications, tasting spoons come in handy, because now we can just take our mango and scoop it out just like this and have it in little bite-sized pieces, which would then make a beautiful addition with the ultimate yield in our fruit salad. So it's an easy way to dice a lot of mango in a short period of time. Okay, so I'm going to remove this, sanitize my spoon, put it back on my work area, and then a simple thing like this, a bowl scraper, which is available for under $1 a piece, or if you get lucky and you go to an exhibition, a lot of companies give this away, and I always grab a big hand. Pick it up simply like this with a bowl scraper to add it then to the fruit salad. And I'm going to put it here over to my orange for now. Okay, so let me try one more time a softer mango. And again, I'm choosing them by feel. And I think there was a nice soft one here. And mangoes are okay. If you can see that these mangoes are still really hard, you put them in a brown paper bag, leave them in there for a couple of days. So you have to do your own mise en place and then ensure that they're nice and ripe so the students can actually succeed, because nobody wants to do something more than cutting this perfect mango hedgehog. Okay? Okay. Take my knife out of the way. Take the knife, cut it long. And I always explain to the students, it looks so much easier when I do it than when they do it, because they also realize that I have a little bit longer training, and my own comfortable level about this is surely way higher than theirs. And what I was trying to do is, and I hope it works this time, and again, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it depending on the mango. Okay, that's much better. Okay, remember how I laid out the little mango pieces here on the plate? And to make it really cool then, you have the students lay this in here. Okay, let me rearrange this. Let's put this aside, put this here. Rearrange it and let them be a little bit creative by simply cutting the mangoes. And all it is I'm trying to create some excitement for the students when they work with fruits, but also when they are in your class. And then I take something simple like this, which is the leftover of my orange skin, create a little sort of face, just cutting it alongside, and they're all going to say, oh, this is so cute. So I also go into creativity, in display and creativity, and then they're going to be very proud that this is going to work out nicely. And again, you know, depending if the mango plays along or not, you get a beautiful hedgehog, okay? And we can just go then display it nicely on a plate, and it looks beautiful once the students is done. Using their knife skills, using their new learned terminology, and everything works out just wonderfully, okay? Again, I put this aside now. I also create then ultimately, again, with all of these different fruits, I create a fruit salad to make sure that none of the fruits get wasted. Once I created the fruit salad, if I do a simple yogurt dressing, then I talk about the nutritional value of these fruits, which then becomes part of my lecture, okay? Again, as you see, I work now for half an hour, and my workstation is still perfect, just like I started in the beginning. Now, the last thing we're going to do today is working with onions. And everybody doesn't like onions, because onions, just like this, they make you cry. So, the onion is a little bit different, because I want them to understand how an onion grows, not only where it grows, so that would be a lecture. The lecture part of it, you can talk about how an onion grows, the different kind of onions, white onions, yellow onions, red onions, pearl onions, and then the simple thing of how to peel an onion, okay? You got the root system here on the bottom of the onion, right, just like that. And again, I try to keep the root system intact this time, right? So I cut off as little as possible, just to remove the outer part and the skin. Cut off this side, just like so. And then change my knife to a smaller knife. Okay. Cut along the outside of the onion, not too deep. Again, it's all about feel and pressure. Peel off the outer part of the onion away, like this, to create as little as possible waste. Okay. Peel the first layer away. And then I talk to the students about how an onion grows and the different layering of the onions. So if you understand that an onion grows layer by layer from the inside out, they will easily understand how an onion needs to get cut to be able to dice it into different pieces. See how that little bowl scraper or any kind of plastic is easy. What I don't like to do is, we asked about the knives early on. I do not like to use my knife to pick up things. That would be something where we can get hurt or the students can get hurt. So I try to eliminate this by exchanging the knife for a simple little bowl scraper like this, which is also available in any of your restaurant supply stores. So here's the onion. And again, remember, I'm always looking for stuff which is doable throughout the year. I'm looking for items which are available throughout the year. And an onion you will always find in the grocery store, and a 5-10 pound bag of onion is really affordable with our budgets. Okay, so now I take my onion and cut it in half along the root system of the onion. Okay, cut it in half. I also, when we teach knife skills, always make sure that the fingers are curled away like this. When you cut it down, again, nobody gets hurt. Right? And before I continue with this, I wanted to show you this maybe again. Cutting with a knife, and I do this on purpose, cutting with a knife like this, with the fingertips out, eventually you're going to cut off your fingertips and you're going to have an accident and we have a cut, and nobody wants to make that happen. So in the beginning, I actually asked the students to turn the knife upside down, to not have the blade exposed, but the heel exposed, so they can just get used to the rocking motion of the knife. And if they feel the knife touching the tip of their fingers, they know they're doing something wrong. So easy way to teach is with the back of the knife versus the knife blade, so nobody gets hurt. And you can do this until the students get the feel of cutting along their fingers, curled up like that, without cutting themselves. And again, remember, I asked the students to sharpen their knife each and every time before they use it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Whoops. 3. And the mistake I made now, on purpose, is I didn't put my saltire underneath. And how do I know and how do I realize? Because my steel started to slip. Okay? When you see something like this, because there's a lot of steps student can learn, always make sure that we stop them there right away and adjust them to, again, make sure that nobody gets hurt. And that's one of the biggest key. You asked me earlier about the knives. It's not the knife. It's the safety of the knife and how to handle the knife, which keeps the knife and makes the knife safe. Okay? So I put this away, that away. Okay. Now, if I have an onion, let me just peel another one while I'm doing this, and then I can get it right through it. Okay? I actually move the waste bowl right in front of me, cut off the outer part of the skin. And again, even if you don't need the onion, that's there, because a lesson on onions can take up easily 50 minutes. Onions can be prepared ahead of time, can be diced, and if you do your lesson plan accordingly to the production you had the previous day or the week, onions can even be frozen. I would then, for example, put in my lesson plan to make a soup or any kind of different application, which then uses this specific cut of onions, so I can actually use it. Or, even better, as I'm thinking about it, how about a nice French onion soup the second 50 minutes of the lecture, which then keeps away all of this cutting of the onions, which needs to be done as well as part of the mise en place. Okay, if you want onion rings, and you think about the onion have different layers, and it's layered and layered and layered, it would be obviously that we take an onion and cut it again by the use of the ruler, 1/2 inch slices, okay, which then ultimately would yield in some beautiful onion rings, okay? And the students can just take those, separate them out, and then again, even if this serves no purpose other than the students being organized and actually understanding how the onion is layered, let them display it to you. It's very difficult for one instructor and 20 students to try to achieve a common goal, which is ultimately having consistency. Now, it depends on what your levels of students you have. You may want to come then with your own ruler and measure these rings according to your previous given specifications. So if you said they need to be 1/2 inch, you can actually grade them or give them point according to if they follow their specific specification, right? And as you can see, this would make beautiful onion rings. This also would make a beautiful display once we caramelize the onion a little bit, okay? And it's a nice way, even raw onions, to display them as part of a buffet. That would be a perfect way to do. So this would be our sliced onion. And then the second part is the diced onions, okay? The diced onions, something very simple. Look for the side where the root system was. Keep that intact as much as possible. Again, the ruler is actually magic. Cut the onion in an angle 45° down. Now, if I slip my knife and cut it 45° down, it's going to slip to the bottom and it keeps my fingers out of harm's way. If I, however, cut it straight and I cut it through, again, you have to be aware of the safety aspect of it. So I cut it in 45° angles down. I let them adjust the knife to, if you can see this here, to my previous given specification, which would be a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, depending on what outcome I want to achieve. I do this again, repeat and repeat, until I get to the bottom of the onion. Okay. And then if I want diced onions, I do the same thing, and I'm just going to do this for the camera. I'm going to go this way, 45 degrees as well. Actually, I'm going straight down in the same specification. So if I cut this way 1/2 inch, I'm going to ask the students to cut it this way 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Keep my fingers curled, cut it straight down. Okay, and then you can see already the onion starts falling apart. I cut again 1/2 inch down in a rocking motion, which then ultimately here will yield in beautiful cut onions. Okay, remove this. I do not use the knife to pick up the onions. Use this, and I would have my diced onions right here. Okay, there we go. And then you surely do this all the way to the end until there's no more onion left. Now, another thing is, I teach when it comes to knives, once you have a little piece left like this, it's safer to turn the onion around and cut the longer part of whatever is left than trying to cut until there's nothing left and then potentially again an accident can happen. Right? I always also recommend to put the biggest side down. So if this side is smaller than this one, I'm actually going to flip my onion. Right? So whatever is the biggest surface, I put down so the fruit or the vegetable is perfectly stabilized. Okay? So I'm going to cut one more here. Remove the onions, and then again make little incisions like so. Cut it down. And then the only thing I leave intact towards the end is a little bit of root system I have, which by the time you cut it this should be the only waste created throughout the whole onion. Okay. Now, if this is not accordingly to what you wanted to do, and they have a little bit, a couple of pieces left, which are not medium diced, because we want to dice them uniformly, so they cook uniformly. Okay, I take those and I just do this, let them do that slowly in a rocking motion to cut the bigger pieces into smaller pieces, bring it back all together, adjust it. And you will see at the beginning, when they start using knives, they're going to go really slow, which is perfectly okay. And if they do this every day and every week, eventually they will pick up on the speed, and this is going to be then just a little bit of minced onion. Okay? Do not let them touch the blade. You never know what's going to happen here. Pick this up with your little bowl scraper. Okay, put this aside. You either can use this for the same application, whatever you have planned in your curriculum, or use it for different applications, just keep them out separate. Now, one of the biggest achievements, again, it's one of my peewees, is also to work as you go. And after cutting an orange, a mango, and several onions, I still have a perfectly acceptable work surface. And at the end of the day, students also have a reorganized workstation. So all of this comes out, it goes back the way they found it originally on their workstation, which teaches them a lot of organizational skills. And believe me, if any employer sees them being well prepared and organized like this, they're going to be a pleasure to work with and to work for. Because ultimately, we're not teaching them this to give them life skills, but also to hopefully find some employment for them somewhere out there. So I hope you all agree that this would be a very acceptable manner to create and prepare several dishes or learn different skills with different terminology while talking about nutrition, while talking about where the food comes from, and relate all of this to your lesson plans, to your objectives, and to your student achievement and student outcome. Any questions for me?
Does anyone have questions? You go to the bottom of your screen where the text, pardon me, the text chat is. I'm sure that you will all agree that you have been presented with some great skills, easy skills, a little more complicated skills, as well as activities and materials that you can be using in the classroom tomorrow.
And again, you know, these are basic skills, and they're basic skills to organize not only the students, but also yourself. And then, again, once we have down all the different kind of cuts and knife skills, then we can take it the next level. We can take our, again, our oranges and do a little crepe. Once we talk about heat transfer, do a little crepe with orange zest and orange supremes, and do a flambé. That would be a little bit advanced skills. We can take the mango not only to do different knife cuts, but also to create then a fruit display or a fruit salad, which again with a simple yogurt dressing, and provide a healthy snack to the students. And what is really appealing to me of all of this is it's something everybody can teach us, because all of these fruits and vegetables are available. It's not an expensive items. No, this wasn't lobster tails and caviar today. That comes at a later stage. This is the basic skills everybody has to have: organization, sanitation, safety, and then knife skills, terminology, and these become building blocks then for everything else you want to teach. So sometimes I always had to think it's not what I can do personally, but how can I teach this to my students, and how can I achieve them, have them achieve? And if you look at the material provided to you, I created my own little station layout, so the students don't have to memorize it, at least not in the beginning. They will memorize this station layout by repeating it every single week, and by you setting this as your expectations for each and every lab at the beginning. It also makes then cleanup very easy. It helps you with the waste in each lab, because yes, we do not have enough budget to be wasteful, and we shouldn't be teaching students to be wasteful. It teaches them organizational skill, and also it lets you to be organized, to make sure that you get all your tools back at the end of the day. Otherwise, you know, after a month or 2 or 3, we have nothing to work with anymore. And I think it's really important that we do this. And again, I did this simply by engraving numbers on the handle, or in previous places, we actually also did different colored tapes. So they were color coded over here, or you asked me earlier how I do engrave this. We did even things like nail polish on a place where it doesn't rub off, so it doesn't get into the food. So there's different ways of doing this. This is the plastic knife cover. You could engrave this easily. The only reason why I'm using engraving, it doesn't wear off. If you use nail polish or marker pen, whatever you use, tape, it eventually wears off and it has to be replaced all the time.
Klaus, I want to thank you very much. You have certainly given the teachers some valuable information today.